Warning. The following review features horror fantasy elements. It is not intended to be viewed by children. But if you want to give the kids a shock, try this. The words. They fail me. Anyway. It's the witching hour. A time for fear. Of all the things that dwell in the shadows, hungering for the living. Yet as you lay in bed, watching the shadows for something to move, think on this. What do you think the darkness fears? Garo. I am so glad that a friend introduced me to this series. It's like someone, who happens to be named Keita Amamiya, took everything awesome about Arthurian lore, horror, fantasy, and tokusatsu entertainment, then bundled it all into a set of golden armor. What's tokusatsu, you may ask? Easiest explanation for an American audience is that it's the genre best known for Japanese heroes, like Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. But this show is aimed at an older audience. Why? Because it has boobies! Oh, and it features the gruesome death of at least one person per episode. Details. Airing in the wee hours, when good children are in bed, Garo is a series that takes on a darker, more adult approach to the classic monster battle. The central idea is that mankind is prey to a different predator, beings of darkness, known as horrors. These horrors seek out those with negative karma, people who live for pure selfishness, or have lost hope due to the difficulties of life, or troll on YouTube. They consume these people, become a part of them, and move to prey upon the living. So how come all our souls aren't on a spit right now? Because of a shadowy organization known as the Makai. I mean, just look at their agents. They are so very stealthy. I would have no idea they weren't just your average Joe. Seriously, I'm gonna watch my neighbors a little more closely after this. Okay, I joke, but the idea behind the Makai is pretty cool. They exist as a force guarding the boundary between this world and all points beyond. They converse with gods, defy spirits, and fight to protect mankind. These agents are the Makai Knights, and the strongest of their ranks is known as the Golden Knight, Garo. Over the course of several seasons, a collection of movies, and a recently debuted anime, the fans of this show have witnessed at least 5 generations of Garo in action. Yeah, fighting a war against eldritch horrors does tend to have a high turnover rate. And what a fight it is as Garo squares off against some of the most terrifying creatures in history. Everything from man-sized monsters to titans to Resident Evil Las Plagas.
I saw my arm and I was so scared.
No disrespect to Arthur and company, but I'm pretty sure they never had to deal with something like this on a nightly basis.
I've done it again!
The unifying element in all these series is the presence of Garo's familiar ring, Zarba, who serves as a guide, knowledge base, battle commentator, and occasional bullet catcher. If the designs of this show look familiar, odds are you've experienced Amamiya's work. He's had a long-standing career in both television and video games, including character designs for Onimusha 2 and 3. Each season of Garo has its own special flavor. The first season is mostly about defeating monsters while pursuing the dynamic between the main hero, Koga Saejima, and heroine Karu. The second season expands upon the Makai and spirit worlds, with a schism occurring within the Makai order. Season 3 was a dramatic departure. It starred several Makai Knights right off the bat and had a lot of production changes. The armor fights were now completely CG and abandoned much of the previous aesthetic to create a new generation feel. And though I admire its attempt to be new and different, it's my least favorite season, mostly because the lead character.
Fresh goes better, Mentos fresh is fresh goes better with Mentos fresh and volatile. Mentos, the fresh maker.
The most recent season was more of a return to form, with greater emphasis on the nature of humans and the ideals that the Makai protect. I personally enjoyed it, yet Amami has made a statement of frustration at how its production was limited by the studio. Odds are, if one season doesn't appeal to you, another might succeed. My favorite, Raiga Saejima, the fourth season's protagonist and a nice compromise between the super serious Koga and the third season's emotional lead, Ryuga Dogai. The leading ladies of the Garo series also cover a spectrum. Karu is an innocent, idealistic artist who steps up in time to become a very likable character despite her lack of combat. The Makai priestess Ryan is a more femme fatale type, while the fourth season's Mayuri is seemingly emotionless, who is trying to understand humanity. And there are supporting knights who offer a range of personas, so I'm sure there's at least one character for which you'll cheer. Unfortunately, because this show is aimed at a male demographic, there are elements that can be eye-rolling. The leading ladies inevitably end up as damsels in distress for the Golden Knight to save. And don't expect a woman to don an armor set because it's apparently a rule that there can be no female knights. Silver lining, we're at least spared the absurdity of anatomically correct armor. Seriously, it's one of the dumbest ideas in fantasy. Also, this show is not known for complex plot lines, though I will credit Season 3 as having the most focus on an overarching story and some unexpected events. Garo excels with amazing visuals, well-choreographed fights, and its dark atmosphere. Plus, physics can stick it. But more than that, it succeeds in an appeal to emotion. Though archetypal, none of these characters feel flat. They face inner and literal demons. I also enjoy the romanticism of this series.
お前に安らぎの時はない。永遠にだ。構わん。俺が決めた道だ。
It requires strength, but it also requires a spirit devoted to something other than oneself.
これが俺の黄金騎士ガロの称号を受け継ぐ者の時だ。
If you're a fan of Power Rangers, Super Sentai, or Kamen Rider, and are in the mood for a little fright, this series is worth a viewing. Give it a look and decide for yourself. And keep in mind, one point of light is strong enough to stand against all the world's darkness. I'm Silver-Quill. Thanks for watching.